Hello everyone. The pyramids of Giza have puzzled scientists and researchers for many centuries, especially the Great Pyramid. The Pyramid of Khufu consists of 2,300,000 stones. These stones are so heavy that the weight of one of them exceeds 70 tons. And the pyramid is very high, about 150 meters. These numbers are really huge. How were the pharaohs able to lift heavy stones in this way to such a height? This is a difficult task for us in the current era, even with the presence of technology, equipment, and modern construction methods. How did people from more than 4,000 years ago build these huge pyramids while they didn't have the technology, equipment, or anything else, all those who had a set of simple metal tools and some wood? And the strangest thing is how these people were able to fix the stones of the pyramid above each other without any adhesive materials? And the answer to this question is that they were able to deliver to a certain method of construction, which doesn't require modern technology or complex tools, but a very simple method that no one imagined. Welcome to the Weird Questions channel, and in this episode, we will answer a question: how did the pharaohs build the pyramids? Before I start, if you are still new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell so you can get our videos first. The question of how the pharaohs built the pyramids contains a wide range of theories, some of which are completely rejected, others are acceptable, and some are funny. For example, one of the theories adopts the idea that those who built the pyramids were alien creatures, and although the topic appears to be funny to some, it has already spread a group of studies and research on this subject, and a large number of people believe completely that the aliens are the ones who built the pyramids, but of course, this is not logical at all, and it is just a hypothesis, not more. One of the strange things that spread in the minds of some people is their belief that the pharaohs were giants and their bodies were long. And therefore it is easy for them to raise stones with their hands and move them from one place to another and simply build the pyramids. Also, this is not true. The pharaohs were not giants, and their heights were very normal. The evidence is that the mummies of the pharaohs that are found in museums don't have huge bodies, but they have the size of any other normal human. And if we look at their coffins found in tombs and museums, or even inside the pyramids themselves, we will find that the sizes of the coffins are very normal and they are not huge, and therefore the pharaohs' bodies were like us. The traditional story of how the pharaohs built the pyramids is that they moved these stones from southern Egypt and they brought it to the site of the current pyramid in Giza. And moved 2 million stones weighing tons over a huge distance, and finally made an earthen berm around the pyramid, then dragged these huge stones over a cylindrical roller of wood and tied it with ropes by oxen and workers to build the pyramids. But there are many points that need to be clarified in this story. Scientifically, to achieve this method, this earthen berm must be made of reinforced concrete because it is impossible to bear the weight of 70 tons that moves on it. Because it simply falls and collapses, and also the wood will not bear these loads, and we need at least steel wheels, as we are talking about 70 tons, and therefore the method of roller wood and the earthen berm and all this talk is not logical, and even if we assume that they implemented this method, the size of the earthen berm must be 10 times greater than the size of the pyramid. Many scientists say that building this giant earthen berm and building these huge roads around the pyramid and then removing them without having any traces after that is impossible. And they haven't really found it until today, and this makes the whole story incorrect. Some of the hypotheses that have recently emerged to support the previous theory are that the researchers guessed that the pharaohs, while pulling the stones above this wooden roller, were spraying water on them, and this will facilitate the movement and will reduce the force they need to move these stones. But it is still a hypothesis. How did the pharaohs move 2 million huge stones from southern Egypt to their current location in Giza? The researchers believe that the desert area in which the pyramid is located was a river area and there were many channels and branches from the Nile River, and therefore they moved these stones through the water. But of course, in the end, all our attempts to justify the previous method, as we said, but with all this, the method is still illogical. There are many questions that don't have any answer, and the most important questions are: how did they raise these huge stones to these enormous heights without any cranes, planes, or modern equipment? Did the pharaohs have a device that would allow them to cancel the gravity in a certain area and raise the stones easily? Unfortunately, there is also no evidence for this. Let us move quickly to another point. How are the stones in the pyramid fixed to each other without using cement materials? In the past, the answer was that they fixed the stones on top of each other by discharging the air between stones, which simply means that they put two stones on top of each other and somehow they begin to empty the air that is between the two stones, and thus the stones begin to settle on top of each other as if there is an adhesive substance present between them, but there is no evidence for this, and it is all just speculation. Because the issue of emptying the air itself needs advanced techniques. The most amazing thing about the pyramids is that they made the surfaces of the stones flat with great accuracy. The stones of the pyramid are in the form of cubes, parallelograms, and rectangles of regular shape. It is assumed that these cubes are carved. Just imagine this is done with primitive equipment and simple tools, which is an impossible process to carving the surface of 2 million stones, which requires imaginative effort and extraordinary labor. So the idea of sculpting rocks is also not logical at all, and that is why almost all the methods and assumptions that we have heard so far from the truth. What would your reaction be if I told you that the rock cubes from which they built the pyramid were molded in their place exactly, and that these rocks were not sculpted? These words were said by the Swiss researcher von Duncan and the French Joseph Davidovitz. The two researchers said that the pharaohs at that time knew how to make a specific mixture that could form an artificial rock that was more solid than the concrete that we use now. And this mixture was made of clay and some chemicals that are heated, and this mixture, when it dries, will be exactly like natural rock and can exist for thousands of years. Imagine that by using this easy hypothesis, we will solve all the problems that we met with all the hypotheses that preceded it. There will be no need to cut and sculpt rocks with high accuracy or move the rocks for huge distances. And there will also be no need to raise the rocks to these great heights. But how did the scientists know this theory, and from where did it start? The group of scientists were looking for a secret room inside the pyramid and exposed the entire pyramid to a group of rays, and suddenly they noticed that the devices give conflicting and illogical results. Although the devices are intact and have no malfunctions. The only explanation that happened was that the rocks inside the pyramid contained a very large amount of water, and scientifically, this amount of water couldn't be present in natural rocks, and this made them prefer the idea that these rocks were manufactured. And then Joseph did a practical experiment that he tried to make a mixture similar to this mixture, and the experiment succeeded and got positive results. He made rocks of these sizes and also consistent with each other, and currently they are trying to reach to the composition of mixture that the pharaohs used. And say that the secret of this mixture, one of the many secrets that the pharaohs knew as well as they knew in astronomy, chemistry, and mummification. The rocks of the pyramids were a substance similar to liquid cement concrete poured into empty rectangular molds. It dries up, leaving the rocks cohesive and connected, and this is the way in which they built the Great Pyramids. It may be the same method that they used in the other buildings, which are like temples and huge obelisks. They didn't raise stones or move them, they were originally pouring them in their place in molds. Of course, we don't say that this hypothesis of casting is the sure method that the pharaohs used in building the pyramids, but we say that this to some extent is the most logical and acceptable hypothesis, and it is possible that one day another theory will appear that clarifies the subject more. Finally, no one can deny that the pharaohs achieved a degree of science in some fields we couldn't reach until today, and this is despite the progress and modern technology that we have. Tell us your opinion. Are you convinced of this theory, or do you have another opinion? Write to us in the comments below this video. That is the answer to a question: how did the pharaohs build the pyramids? If you liked this video, don't forget to like and share, and the people who first see us make subscribe and activate the bell to get our videos first, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.